So my guess is the throwout bearing. So when I press the clutch, I hear a little something. And then same gear, slowly let off. Sounds horrible, so yeah, let's get that fixed. All right, today we're going to be swapping out the clutch, and this is going to be clutch number 4. The first clutch, I got the car like 90,000 miles, 92,000 miles, and I could tell it was driven like really bad because my differential just freaking exploded while I was regular driving. No pulls or nothing. The freaking bolts just backed out and grenaded this. So the diff is, there it is. Half of the bolts were sheared, half of them just flew out. Yeah, you see that one's bent. So I had to get a new diff, brand new diff. That one's been holding up. So then, eventually, you know, the clutch went out. So, that first clutch went out shortly after the rear end did. So, I'm going to leave that up to the previous owner. Shame on you. So, I swapped it out, went with the spec twin disc, and that one just took a shit on me. The splines in the clutch, the teeth were just stripped out and couldn't drive. It made a horrible grinding sound, so I returned that. Fortunately, they gave me a refund for like a manufacturer defect because I've never seen a clutch do that. And now, after that one went out, I put a stock clutch in. I got off of eBay for like $100. So I did not expect that one to last very long, but it lasted longer than I expected. So now we're going to put a brand new one. So hopefully I'll get like 100,000 miles or something. Could be because this car is supercharged. I know how to drive. All my other cars, those clutches are straight. Never had to change them. But this one, I do not think it likes the power. But hopefully we'll see what the damage is. And it's not too bad. Because I'm trying to tear this apart and slap it back together real quick. This is going to be the quickest clutch job you've ever seen me do. Normally it takes me a while, but this time we're going to be quick. And last time I was in there, we pinched my harness. And I had to rewire everything. So I bought a brand new wiring harness. So we can get this together. This is like the biggest money pit. I've had to replace the diff on it. The rod bearings. They look horrible. Hella tires. One of them's flat right now, or getting there. Yeah, this one. So the diff, a procharger blew up on me, so I had to get a brand new procharger. So I'm gonna blame that one on the previous owner too. Nah, that was me. I didn't really change the oil like I should have, so I learned an expensive lesson. And that's about it. Nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. I'm going to just blame half of it on the previous owner. But it's been holding up pretty good. So the first thing I'm going to do, jack this thing to the moon, put some jack stands under it, and take the exhaust off. There's 7 15mm bolts to get this belly pan off. You can leave the axle back on. You just need access to the drive shaft, which you get when you take off this midsection. I don't know what size your clips are because this is aftermarket, so I don't know what bolts you guys use, so y'all figure it out. Unplug your oxygen sensors, make sure you don't snatch those off. And pour 13s, and it should come right out. Alright, for the drive shaft, towards the back of the car, these 3 bolts are 19s, and the other side is 18. So you get it in the middle, and you put the 18 on the back and just impact it off. And then you gotta put it in neutral, rotate it, and then put it back in gear. And then it's held up by 2 13s and 6 E12 bolts in the back. And then it should just come right out. You slide it back that a ways towards the back of the car. Alright, I lied on accident. For the front shaft part of the drive shaft, they're both 18s. Now I'm going to take this clip off of the selector rod and take the shifter arm out. There's 2 pins. I don't know if I can get an angle on it. Yeah, there's one of them. One of the pins. On that side, and one on the other. You can just barely see it. It's like in the center of the screen. It's not focusing, but it's up there. Take those out. Alright, once you get your pins out, there's 4 13 bolts on the trans mount, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. Get those out, and transmission will sag just a little bit, but it's not going anywhere. You can leave this tray on or you could take it off. It's your preference. Then you're going to want to start remembering what you're unplugging and start unplugging stuff. And then take these trans bolts out. They're E12 as well, but I do not remember how many they are. Be careful of your cam sensor. I think that's what that is. No, that's not your cam sensor. Be careful of your crank sensor, because I messed mine up the first time and it was acting goofy. Like it'll just cut off on you. So be careful of this sensor right here. There's a 10mm bolt in there and the E12 for the trans cooler. I'm gonna take those out. You can leave the lines in. No, actually I lied. You're gonna need a bag or something to catch it, and it's gonna be a decent amount. Next, you want to take out your slave cylinder. It's 2 13mm bolts. It'll focus. One on the bottom, one on the top. I recommend getting these slinky extensions or whatever they're called. They're like really flexible. It's perfect to just hoop around everything and get it out. Alright, I got the slave cylinder out and it looks alright. The sock on it was off, but I just put it back on. It's hanging down over there. But I looked through the slave cylinder hole and I do believe it's the throwout bearing or the spring on the clutch fork gave out. So I'm gonna put the engine support stand bar on this and jack it up so the engine is cocked back a little bit and the transmission will come down, because you cannot pull it straight out or it'll hit the firewall. So you do have to get it out at an angle. So I'm gonna lift the motor up a little bit and drop the trans this way and slide it back. Well, unfortunately, I have some magic green liquid pooling. So I guess I need a new head gasket. That kind of sucks, but I guess I'm glad I caught it. Glad it's not my heads, but that one's gonna suck. It's coolant hose to the back of the heads. And I was wrong. See that little bearing in there, that pilot bearing? Well, that little bitch backed out. That's what the problem was. So now, since we're already here, I'm going to change everything anyways. So I'm gonna take this all out and put the new stuff in. And these bolts on the outside are 6mm Allen bits. Psych, I lied again. Alright, so this is the clutch. At first glance, it looks straight. So the twin disc I had, all these little teeth in there, they were just disintegrated. They were gone. There was nothing for the input shaft to grab onto. It would just go in there and just spin. Would not hook to anything. But upon visual inspection, the clutch fingers, they look alright. They're not too bad. But there's actually supposed to be a set of teeth in here. And they're gone. Like this new one. But as you can see, they have disintegrated. And on this clutch, you can see where it wore down. So, could probably still, I don't know. No, I'm not even going to try to use this. This was toasted. And this is the new one. So, this is sliding around right now. But, once you put this clutch in here, the brand new one, you line it up. Stick it in there, make sure everything's straight. You got a special alignment tool that you use. And then I'm gonna move this out the way. Just pretend that's still back there. You take this key out and it'll pop down and put some pressure on it. That's why it's called a pressure plate. And this should stop moving around. It'll be locked up in there. Here's the clutch alignment tool. You stick this thing all the way through there, through both of them in the clutch. And then you grease your splines, the input shaft. You can grease the inside of this as well. And here's your throw out bearing. And the infamous pilot bearing that decided to fail on me. Alright, so I got the clutch, pressure plate, flywheel all on there. Pilot bearing, new throw out bearing. And it should be good. So now I'm just, everything I took off, I'm putting it back on. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. If you're getting the transmission out, good luck with it. You'll see where it's hitting on the firewall. And I highly recommend getting a sledgehammer and just whamming on it, so you just get a teeny bit more clearance when you're trying to put the transmission back in. So got a few of the bolts started. We're going to get the rest of them in. Mine was just held in by 3 somehow. We're not going to talk about that. So I got some new ones, and hopefully it won't go nowhere. Also, on the back of this fork arm, whatever you want to call it, there's a little like extendo piece. I just cut it off because it serves no purpose, and you'll thank me later. Other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'll still walk you through it. Alright, got all my trans bolts in. Got my shifter arm, selector rod, all that stuff's back together. All the wiring, all the plugs, 1 on the top, 2 on the side, 3 on the other side. And about to put the transmission support bar back in there. Transmission mount, whatever you want to call it, back in here. And that's 4 bolts. And smooth sailing from there. Alright, so actually the top of the U-joint in the drive shaft says top. Didn't know that, but in case you fuck it up, that's how you unfuck yourself. And we got the trans member in there. And now we're putting in the drive shaft. Then the exhaust. Then you're done. Then the moment of truth comes where you start it. Either that bitch gonna move or it ain't. And if it do, it may not like it. But we gonna see. Hopefully she'll like it. Alright, got everything put back on. Let's see if it'll start up. Alright, so after changing the crank sensor, now it should finally start. Somehow connection got broken when I took the trans out. I guess when I set it on the ground. So be careful of that. It's on the bottom of the bell housing. Now the real question is, will it drive? Oh man, that feels so smooth. Oh yeah, this is it. We in business now. Oh yeah, that feels great. No horrible noises. Go through all the gears. It's just what I needed. Clutch, pressure plate, flywheel. No, I kept the old flywheel, but I did take it off and clean it up a little bit. We're back in business.